are very, very proud, honored, and pleased to be partners with NEPAD and with YARA and other many participants and sponsors for this forum. And I think we are now at a juncture where we can make a difference. There will be many more directed speeches or proposals that will come forward. But clearly on the ground, things are now in place to bring about a green revolution that transforms Africa's agriculture from subsistence to market-oriented, and if not, call it commercial. That we have to move forward and agriculture to be regarded as a business so that farmers can become really full, dignified entrepreneurs in their own right. We are all here gathered from all parts of Africa and the world to be able to come together to lead towards concrete, as I say, concrete outcomes, and I'm sure we will all work towards that. It is my pleasure to introduce a close partner that we work together, Dr. Mayaki, who is the Chief Executive Officer of NEPAD, Coordinating and Planning Agency. Dr. Mayaki.
Your Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. To our friends who are hosting us in Accra, I say thank you. To those who have joined here from around the continent, bienvenue en français. And to those who have traveled great distances from around the world to join us, I say welcome to Africa. Our time, I think, has come. In 2006, through the good and gracious efforts of many, the first African Green Revolution Conference convened in Oslo, Norway. A seed was planted. Its roots have taken deeply, and for this, there is a cause to be grateful. The power of global partnership has deep impact. Now it is up to Africa to reap the benefits of its own harvest. Africa of the 21st century will be defined by a new blueprint, its lines drawn by agriculture and the infrastructure to move it freely from the land of its people. NEPAD is transforming itself as well into the NEPAD Planning and Coordinating Agency, which is an African Union agency, the development agency of the African Union. We recognize the vitality of our role through CAADP to help pave the way for projects that feed Africa and raise its people out of poverty and hunger. Through meetings like this, we can look at the establishment of Africa as a breadbasket for agriculture, commerce, and wealth creation. 60% of the African population makes its home in rural areas across this fertile and beautiful land, and Africa is young and strong. More than half of its people are under 18. This is an equation for prosperity. Let us do the hard work here in Accra over the next 3 days. Let us meld policy to action and then watch the seeds of our efforts spread on the optimistic winds of change. 3 key words: pragmatism, synergy, and will. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your Master of Ceremonies, South African star of television and stage, and BBC presenter Fazile Mpele.
A very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. All protocol is observed. I'm very pleased to join you on the next coming 3 days, and I'd like to share that I've had the pleasure of making my way in the entertainment world, but it is only but one of my passions. My work has led me all over Africa in many very different roles. And I've learned that when we can combine our individual passions with a passion for humanity, it enables us to see that the world is indeed but a stage. And I'd like to thank you for inviting me to play a small role on this stage. It is now my great privilege to welcome our next guest. There are few names that resonate on the global stage with more recognition than Mr. Kofi Annan's. As Secretary General of the United Nations, the breadth and depth of his work was instrumental in laying out the Millennium Development Goals to meet the needs of the world's poor. As Chairman of the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, he has spearheaded partnerships that are revitalizing the engine of agriculture across Africa. In 2005, he persuaded the United Nations to establish the Peace Building Commission and the Human Rights Council, both dedicated to global peace and welfare. His work has contributed to the creation of the Global Fund to fight HIV and AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis. In 2001, Mr. Kofi Annan and the United Nations received the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, for some, that could have been the pinnacle of a career, and we could say, well done. But for Mr. Kofi Annan, it was but a stepping stone to a continuing life commitment to better those in need, sharing a planet abundant with resources that only need to be tapped into. So, it is my honor and pleasure to welcome the Chairman of the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, Monsieur Kofi Annan.
Vice President John Mahama, our host, Prime Minister Pinda of Tanzania, former President Obasanjo of Nigeria, Excellencies and dear friends, we gather here this morning to discuss a very important subject. And I think the President of AGRA put it succinctly when he said, this is not an ordinary conference. I will say it's not even a conference, it's not a seminar, it's a call to action. A call to action for all of us to join this fight in making sure Africa could become food and nutrition secure. And I'm really delighted that this first conference, or this first forum of the Green Revolution, being held in Africa is taking place in Ghana. And I'm happy you are here in your numbers. We have in this room an enormous power and great potential to transform agriculture in Africa. Today we face huge challenges in our effort to end hunger and poverty and to transform African agriculture into an engine for economic development. I need not elaborate on these challenges. We know them well. They are systemic, from poor soils and seeds to lack of finance and markets and weak policy support. We often talk about the Green Revolution in India. Yes, scientists did their part, but the other part was done by the politicians and Parliament providing good policy to support the agricultural transformation. But these systemic challenges in Africa today are compounded by the reality of climate change, of threats to biodiversity, and the natural resources that support life. But if the challenges are systemic, so too are the solutions. They involve fundamental changes in government priorities and policies, a strengthening of the food value chain, development of Africa's private sector, the creation of vibrant new partnerships, and an realignment of international aid to support Africa